Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. It's been quite distressing in the past, 2 of the last 3 days because of the protests by the Islamic movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiites, and they've been protesting, and in the process have been confronting the army, maybe even police, but confronting force. It's mind-boggling, but let me quickly say that our guest this morning, Major Debo Basharon, retired, is a security consultant. Thank you very much for coming on again, Major Basharon. Thank you very much. And Mr. Festus Akintola is a security expert and analyst. Thank you as well for coming.
Good morning. Thanks.
What kind of a crisis is this? Because you could see that I've been trying to figure it out, not that I can do these things, but why would any bunch of civilians be able to confront an army, even though you're going to take losses? And even as we speak, they have gathered again to resume the protest that had led to, trouble. So what exactly is going on, and how can this be contained? I imagine that superficially, perhaps even more than that, it's about the release of the leader, Zakzaki. But I wonder if there are other underpinnings. Major, before we comment in studio, let's take a look at a report that we made and put out. Let's look at that again now to give us some background.
Angry, daring and resolute, thousands of Shiite protesters are on the streets for the second time in 3 days. Children and women form a large part of these protesters, walking against the odds of military firepower to register their demand. Free Sheikh el-Zakzaki. This Abuja-bound protest was relatively peaceful from Mararaba in Nasarawa. The tides turned when the Shiites arrived at the military checkpoint. The combined military team, armed to the teeth, were provoked when the Shiite procession attempted to forcefully break through their barricade. All hell was let loose. The military responded with lethal force. Our camera lens captured what seemed like some members of the Shiite group lying on the floor, perhaps hit by bullets. Residents and passers-by also scampered to safety. The most frustrating was the gridlock that began to build. Angry commuters and motorists got talking about the violent clash.
I would say this situation is unnecessary. It's unnecessary in the sense that the government of the day is not doing the right thing. One, if a court of law said somebody should be released, release the person. Even if you have other things against the person, take the person to court again. If the court finds him guilty, they will do the appropriate thing. It's not you unnecessarily keeping someone in your detention.
That's a failure of intelligence gathering. Because if this happened 2 days ago, the security agencies are supposed to be on top of their game to actually avert, a thing like this.
The violence here was like a reenactment of Saturday's scene in Zuba, outskirts of Abuja. Commercial drivers at the Zuba Park were terrified. Thomas Sani, a commercial driver, is yet to come to terms with how quickly a peaceful protest turned violent, forcing him and other drivers to abandon their vehicles.
We are running. We leave motor. Everybody run here. Because if you don't run, you die. So because of the straight bullet, even though it's this police, they say essential discharge. So you don't hear the English. When it's happening, everybody also we are moving from there, and now load my own vehicle and go back to my house to avoid the story that touch.
The continued detention of Shiite leader Sheikh Ibrahim el-Zakzaki continues to anger thousands of his followers. Despite several court orders granting him bail, the government insists on keeping him in confinement, causing growing protest and heightened tension. This inscription, Buhari Free Zakzaki, is becoming a common sight at strategic locations in Abuja. Well, this is one clever way the Shiite group in Nigeria is using to call attention to the continuous detention of their spiritual leader. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, so there you have it. Major Bashir, the respondent in that report, touched on his opinion, it being a failure of intelligence. This has happened before. The military has its intelligence. Even law enforcement generally have their own intelligence methods. Could they have moved? Could they have started from wherever they started and travel all that way, and the army be unaware of it? Why? The way it seems to non-professionals is, why were people, so to speak, just waiting for the trouble to come, and then we'll deal with it there, as opposed to dispersing it before we even get into what has led to all of this? This whole allegation of failure of intelligence, do you think that's what it is that led to this unfortunate scenario, or people don't understand the issue fully?
Well, I would believe it's part of the whole package. We've got enough blame to go around, and if you look at the incident of the day before, I would think the security agencies ought to have moved in, their intelligence should have moved in to foretell the next step this group will want to take, because they are like a wounded lion now. You can't expect them, after 2 or 3 lives have been lost on their side, to keep quiet. If they can, I should expect that the military should have stepped in and thwart what has happened yesterday. By sort of springing a surprise to make sure they are dispersed. At least they will have a converging point. By the time they get there, you've got relevant extant laws in the books. You can tell us that, well, lawful assembly, all that kind of thing. The police will have dispersed them. Having said that, I have a piece of information that says this very group, they're just quote unquote a bit difficult. They are strong-headed.
This Islamic movement of Nigeria, aka Shiites.
I have it on good authority that even after the first incident, where about 300-400 people were alleged to have been killed, the army made an overture to them that they should come to the table and resolve their differences. But what I learned is that they refused entirely. And you cannot be an alternative force to a government. That's why the government is there. If you have your views, share it with them, and if you do not, they cannot allow law and order to break down.
So from what you're saying, they allegedly had, refused, declined the offer to come sit down and let's talk about this.
And if that's their position, I want to think there's an international dimension to the whole thing. Because this is an international group that is known all over the world. Indeed. And they've got their characteristics too. One will be wondering why the Western world, which is known to defend human rights and so on and so forth, hadn't come down with a sledgehammer on the Nigerian government. But I think wherever they are perceived to be troublemakers. So one can be sympathetic a bit towards the government. But on the other, that's why I say the blame will go around.
Okay, there's enough blame to go around.
In modern armies, which I think Nigeria is a part of, we've got something that you can use now that will be non-lethal. You get some bombs or whatever, smoke that could disable
stun
people.
Grenades
stun grenades and so on. So at the end of the whatever might have happened, just you decapitate people, not in the sense that you cut them to pieces, but you immobilize them. Once you hit them, and after some time, they recover, and that will be the end of it.
But as you said, I want to come to you, but here's the army. They've mounted a checkpoint, a barricade, and these people are coming and they're going to overrun the army. And then the whole thing went bad. How well do you think this is being handled by the authorities, in your opinion?
Well, I want to go on the lines of the fact that it is not a failure of intelligence on the part of Nigerian army, because the Shiite people went ahead to collect a police permission for peaceful protests. That is what they call it, peaceful protests. They got permission for that peaceful protest, and in the process, the Nigerian army is aware they are making a peaceful protest, they are not on their part, and you run into a barricade of Nigerian army. And ordinarily, what you need to do is when you see an army holding a gun, and if you watch that tape very well, for more than 30 minutes, they were busy throwing pebbles and stones at the Nigerian army. When I was watching the tape, I was asking myself, within myself, look, when is these people going to react? They sort of they provoke them beyond human endurance. I'm not even talking of military endurance. Now, if you don't understand the Shiite very well, we need to go back to the drawing board and look at what led to the capitulation of the incarcerations of their leader. They were doing a parallel government in Kaduna. When the leader is going out, roads will be closed as if he's the head of state. They acquire land without paying compensation to the owner of the land. Lawless. You can't be running a parallel government in a sovereign, under a sovereign country. That is exactly what the leader is constituting a security threat to the country at large. And the issue of the courts, the man is saying that about the courts that they should release him. If somebody is constituting a security threat, this is how Boko Haram started. And we know the mayhem the Boko Haram caused to the peace and tranquility of this country.
You're not in government, Major Basho. No. But can you fathom what the thinking might be? Because as has been observed, there have been court rulings, but government, citing security reasons, has not been able to obey those court rulings, namely by releasing Zakzaki. What do you think? What do you think is going on? Because this is costing us a lot as a country. It's costing us a lot.
Well, in the context of Nigeria, we don't know whether we have to choose the chicken or the egg. You see, it's one thing. Honestly, when we say we are practicing a democracy, I want to believe that there are institutions that will guide us on what and what not to do. But from what we've been seeing, I want to align that our judiciary is still not yet an institution. So when some of the judges or the justices give directives, give orders, judgments, you as a layman want to question it sometimes. But when you see people put up the argument that, well, the court has ruled, there are so many dimensions to rulings nowadays. I can cite examples of where two different judges will take extreme positions, on simple issues that even a common sense man who is not a lawyer, who is not a judge, will know this thing is not good. So one could question those who are advocating, who are very loud in saying, well, the court has ruled, the court has ruled. You see, they say if there's no justice, justice in Nigeria could be described in so many terms. And for those people to go there and confront the army just like that, that's why I say there might be an undercurrent. They couldn't have gone there on their own, just like that, without the backing of some sponsors.
Now, that's exactly where we were coming to. For us to discuss this thing, and maybe for it to be better understood, the external origins of Islamic movement of Nigeria, as it is called, but Shiites is what they're really called. What? Is it like a cult? Is it like, because you see, when we have crises like this, we often are hasty, not so much hasty, that's not what I wanted to say. We try to see if, don't be dropping any spark onto any petrol here. It's not religious. We're quick to say that, knowing how flammable those issues can be. Can one say the same of this?
We cannot say the same of this because there is no way it has a religious undercurrent.
First of all, with this religious leader being
yes, with these religious leaders, it has a religious undercurrent. What they are advocating for is that they want a state of a caliphate where the Sharia will be ruling. That is exactly the background of the problem. And you cannot be running a parallel government. Everybody are entitled to their belief or the religious belief, so to say. You have to practice something. Even in the issue of, what do we call it, the freedom of speech. The freedom of speech, you are guaranteed freedom of speech, provided it is not defamatory, obscene, seditious of another man's reputations. Where these undercurrents are there, I mean, if somebody constitutes a security threat to the country, nobody is bigger than the country.
Do you think this is why the government is working tenderly around this whole matter? You can only kill so many, and even as we speak, there are allegations that more than a few of the Shiites, so the allegations go, have actually been killed. And I imagine the army is doing all that it can to, because they must be aware of the outrage, of the backlash. If you can't just say because you have a tank and you can quell it down. So these are some of the dilemmas the army faces. How do we get out of this quagmire?
Well, I think the conference table is the only recipe.
But allegedly, they've rejected this idea.
Well, the overtures has to be made and made all over again. You cannot say because
are we going to have?
Well,
this is part of the problem.
There's no military solution to this. I can guarantee you that.
Yes.
It has to be a political solution. Maybe because of the...
But who are we speaking with? Idris Zaki is in incarceration.
The origins of this...
So who are we speaking with?
The origins of this sect is in Iran. And they've got friends in some places all over the world. I want to, well, the people
even in Nigeria.
In the foreign service desk of the Nigerian government, we've got people there who know their friends. If they go through their friends to appeal to them, then maybe they will come to, they will avoid this bloodshed. Because seeing them, go against the military is like committing suicide. I don't see what
this is what,
and they don't seem to be too bothered by that.
Yeah, but you can see examples of people committing suicide.
So this is
that will
fanaticism.
Tell you, to much extent, I don't want to use the word brainwash, but they are so much lost in their beliefs.
If you want,
that they
so committed to their own objective,
so that's it.
Not caring what the whole world thinks.
That is exactly what the Emir of Kano is preaching now, that let us have more schools than mosque. They are attacking him now because, you see, the fundamental issue is that if you are educated, nobody can brainwash you. At least you can read and write. I think you see the dimension coming now. The Quran are written in English now. It is written in some other native languages that people can read. This is what his Quran is saying about this thing. It's not that somebody will come and read Arabic to me and at the same time interpret it to me. And that is because they lack fundamental basic things, and that which is the education. That is what the Emir of Kano is preaching now. Let us have more schools than mosque.
Mohammed in Niger State, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Eri.
Good morning, sir.
Please, I want to contribute about the issue of this Shia. Hello?
Please go ahead.
Please, we should not give this any political or they are pure. The aim of this Shia is not, they are looking for independence of, they should not mistakenly give them a chance. Let me tell you, their belief is this. If you are a Muslim, you should operate to use Quran as a justice, as a constitution. This is the aim of the Shia. And if you're a Christian and happen to be a president, what their thought is this: they will first and foremost liaise with you, convert first. But if you're a Muslim and you happen to be a president, you go direct and implement Sharia. That is the principle of Sharia. So this show human rights should not even arrive here. The best thing government has done is to keep that man And anytime they block the road, they should confront them. And let me tell you, the three that love their life, we are here beating them like that. They are now saying that one they're in paradise now. So their thinking is different. Government should keep them, keep that man. They are working on the directive of Iran.
Okay.
They didn't believe in the constitution here you are using. And Nigerians, we are not, we are both Christian, Muslim, other tribes. And here, I didn't believe in that. So that's my contribution.
Thank you very much.
Human rights should not even come up here. They should keep that man, and anytime they block the road, they should confront them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. Maybe the best word that one could use for these agitators would be extreme fundamentalists.
This is how Boko Haram started.
Fundamentalism. And in that, to that extent, the authorities are dealing with a totally different kettle of fish. This is not your ordinary troublemaker, as someone said earlier. I don't know if we have the wherewithal, and we have to find a solution out of it, but we're not dealing with guys that can sit down and reason together, because they seem to be locked into one position, and we see it, and these people are ready to confront a standing army if need be. So how do you talk? These people are not reasoning the way you are reasoning.
Well, zealotry, as a matter of fact, is both, even in the Islamic world and in the Christian world, you see extremists on both sides.
Of course.
And I belong to the school of thought which says that we should, our government, I mean Nigerian government, on our own locally here, we should start by outlawing sponsoring people to Mecca and to Jerusalem. Let everybody be on his own. When you still have all these things happening, that the government is supporting, oh, pilgrims board, that pilgrims board. They don't do like that in countries we are copying. They leave everybody to his faith. By the time you are on your own, you pay your fares down to Mecca or Medina or Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. You think twice. Excuse me. But now, with all this funding coming from here and there, people will still might be interested. So I want us to look at it from that angle too.
Well, and part of the complication of this, no doubt, is that just as we're talking about the Islam and Muslims and external connections and sponsorships and that kind of thing, it's happening exactly like that with the Christian side of town as well. Right. It's just that the Christians are not up in arms over anything yet, but they are still, all of them, getting funding one way or the other from beyond our shores.
Right.
Alien, well, I would have said alien ideas to us as a nation, but to the followers, it's like a canon. But let me bring in Abayomi is in Maiduguri. Good morning, Abayomi.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Please, I want you to take note of the flag used by this Sheikh Sasaki group. It is the same flag that the Boko Haram are using in the north. So if we give human rights in this country, there's going to be a lot of things that will go wrong. So please take note of that flag. If we play that video back, you will see, and just check the flag very well. It is the same flag with the Boko Haram flag. Thank you.
Now, I want to come in.
Please.
Now I want to come in at this point in time. I'm going to be totally honest with you that it's those countries or those sects that are not really interested, or they are in danger to the corporate existence of this country that are behind these people. Now, I want to tell you, realize the fact that no country has ever faced the kind of insurgency Nigerians are facing, and they still remain one. Look at the issue of Boko Haram, the issue of the Niger Delta crisis. You look at Fulani X-Men, the petroleum pipeline vandalisms, and name other vices we are having in the military are combating with. If not because, let us look at the era of 2014 to 2015, I mean 2015, I was on the early part of 2015, when Boko Haram was, they have their highest success rate in the three northeast states of Adamawa, Yobe, and Borno, and where bombs are thrown in the market, and all kind of criminalities were happening in
terrorism
in those days. In those days. Now, if with the emergence of the new government in 2015 and perhaps the savior or the new chief of army staff, Burata Yusuf, that has been able to bring all the insurgencies to their barest minimum. So if anybody constitutes a threat to this country, let that person be kept incarcerated for as long as he wants to imbibe peace.
Okay. Mr. George, good morning. Thank you for calling in. Hello, George. I think there's a network hiccup somewhere. Hello, Mr. George in Ikeja.
Well, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Oh, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
And good morning to the guests there.
Sure.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, all over the world, I do not see, unless that country is a religious state, I don't see anywhere a religious group becomes superior to government policies and constitution. The way and manner this sect is going about its activities, it is best that the government needs it in the board now. Otherwise, we will have another big crisis on our hands later. How can a religious sect defy rules and regulations governing a country? They want to have a constitution of their own. They want to have a state of their own within a state. It's not allowed anywhere in the world. Nigeria is a free state. It's neither a Muslim state or a Christian state. So if you want to practice a religion, you have to abide by what the Constitution says.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. I'm sorry I got to interrupt you, but I'm going to do so because of a break. So sorry about that. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Mr. Festus Akintola, security expert in the studio, and Major Debo Bashorun, retired, also in the studio. And as Mr. George, calling in from Ikeja, was saying just before we went, there's nowhere where a unit, a group, a private group, decrees how a country shall be run, or their part thereof. This is how we're going to run it. It's not going to happen anywhere. But this is happening. Recall that I think you observed that they sought and obtained a permit, police permit, to hold a peaceful protest. I don't understand it. Probably it's about being politically correct. Because, look, there will not be a peaceful protest. You hand them that pass, but I suppose nobody wanted to be seen to be discriminating against any particular set of people in the society. So if this Christian group could ask for such permit, we'd have to give it to them. Maybe that's where it went there. But that's where I don't understand the army with the wealth of intelligence at its disposal. Maybe me not being a professional or a tactician, I would have thought, why did they let them take off from the very, very beginning and, journey all that way for it to become a catastrophe? Since people like to play around with the law, couldn't they have played around and have saved lives but by not allowing this to happen, even though they did have the permit, which they seem to be brandishing now?
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. By the time they are gathering, the intelligence people or the government people should have known, because they have an antecedent. They've been doing this and doing this. Yes. That's the more reason why the government should have taken a closer look at this quote-unquote the peaceful protest they wanted to do. And by the time you get to a roadblock being mounted by the military, you're supposed to stop. And when they tell you to stop, you don't confront them. You are not going to break through the barrier, and you expect them to fold their hands. In as much as I would not support Nigeria being gone down. But every group, everybody should take cognizance of the fact that there is a rule of law, just like the lawyers will say every time in this country. But the law goes so far, because By the time you start exercising your right, it might infringe on my own freedom too. So they should look at both ways. Those people who are advocating for, you know.
One is, of course, very, very hesitant to apportion blame, even though Major said that there's plenty to go around for everybody. I was just wondering that this whole situation, whether it's been handled right, maybe there wasn't a sufficient showing of force that could have served as a deterrent. Say, look at the line from there to there. There's nowhere to go. I don't know.
Well, it was meant to be a peaceful protest.
Okay.
And they were marching on the streets of Abuja. Now, in the process of them marching on the street of Abuja, they ran into an army barricade. The barricade, as it was said in the news, they were trying to convey some armaments from Abuja to Kaduna. Now, when they ran into the army barricade, they asked them to descend back, that you can pass through alternative routes and not this route, that this is where they are. And the Shiites started throwing pebbles, stones, for more than 45 minutes. The army had their sway. But you see, in democracy, everybody has fundamental human rights. They have to right to self-defending as well. When it gets to beyond human, they cannot comprehend it beyond human comprehension, so to say. So they cannot.
But now that they've gathered for a third day, a third time, I imagine it's going to be uppermost on everybody's mind that, look,
well, they've gathered for the third day, but they've been able to control them to where they are. They can't move out of that place they are now. That is the reports on the ground in Abuja now.
Okay, Comrade Ayo in Oshogbo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, the guest there.
Good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori, you see, Nigeria is a country where everybody is free, has the freedom to practice his or her religion. But in us, we need to infringe on other people's rights. That is why the problem is. See, there are information that when the Shiite group are having their whatever thing they want to do, they constitute an infringe on other people's rights. And you.
Okay, even from the little that that he got out, we could understand, because he premised the whole thing where we all agree everybody has the right to religion, you know. But then he went on to begin to make some allegations that not caring about other people's rights, because he said that it is alleged that they infringe on other people's rights in the pursuit of their own. Now, no society is going to stand for that. And one of our callers, Mr. George, said earlier that, show me the country anywhere in the world. I mean, if it's totally religious, one way or the other, either Christian or Muslim, that's a different thing. There will be no dissent. But where do you have a situation such as they sought to create? I think it was a headache to the governor of Kaduna for such a long time.
For such a long time.
For such a long time.
And even if we are practicing democracy, let us go back to America, where democracy is practiced as the highest orgy. You remember the case of Guantanamo Bay? Mm-hmm. Despite the call from several people that, what is the name? Obama should release the people he held up on the Guantanamo Bay. He hold on sway because they are constituting a security threat to the United States of America.
And it's interesting you remember that, because before President Obama became President Obama, you know, he was thinking that the thing to do is, no, that's an unconscionable place. You know, these people, democracy and all that. But he became president and he wouldn't let them go.
And he didn't let them go.
Because he probably became party to information that he didn't have.
That is exactly what is happening.
Femi in Sulere, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to your guests.
Yes.
The place where they exported this religion to us is from Saudi Arabia. They have control.
Iran, you mean? Iran. Femi, do you mean Iran, or you meant to say Saudi?
Over the religion there. You cannot just go out and preach anything you like. Even in Saudi Arabia, you can't go out. In Nigeria here, we have allowed it to
Femi, are you sure that it's Saudi Arabia that you wanted to say?
You have limits of what you can preach. In Nigeria, these people will preach and even put that kind. Wait, please listen to me. Hello?
Hello, Femi. Continue, please.
Yeah. What I'm saying is this, is that in Nigeria here, these people will go to the market, they put a speaker within their sect, and they put speaker and tell you, go baking custody, go ferrying custody, akecheshi. These are not supposed to be allowed. And if we don't take care, we are going to experience problems because there are so many of them that most, if you take the statistics of the Muslim district, hardly can you get up to 20 people who can read the Quran in Arabic and interpret it. And when these people come, they interpret a lot of rubbish to them. Even within the Islamic people, they know that this thing that these people are preaching is wrong. It's not right. And if we allow it to continue like that, we are going to have problems. So there must be a very good control. They must take care. If not so, these are the places where radicalization starts. So we have to be very, very proactive and put intelligence to use so that when somebody starts preaching something that is not even in the Quran, then we can easily stop it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Femi. I think what is that everybody agrees, government needs to, because they are the authorities, needs to nip this in the bud. But this is a bit more than a bud now, so they just have to nip this. Now, how does government go? Because it's also going to be aware of the rule of law, fundamental right to life, and all of those things.
You see, I want to blame governments on this part that they need to regulate the practice of religion in Nigeria. Well, you are privy to the fact that if there are mosques in London, do you ever hear their loudspeaker, calling people for prayer? There are churches in London. Do you hear their loudspeaker house? They are insulated. You don't disturb the peace of the people. Everybody has the right to practice his own religion. I think this is why government, mosque should not, put speakers on. You will see early in the morning, some people will walk into your estate and they will be saying, calling that you should be calling for protest, protesting one religion, say do this, do that, all this, and disturbing the peace of the people. These are issues that leads to fundamentalists.
And that's another hard nut to crack, because when the idea of religious preachers need to be licensed, you know, that idea is stuck in the throat of many Nigerian religious people, both Christian and Muslim.
Let us face reality.
I'm going to be thorough. But you know how sensitive people are.
This is Nigeria.
And how people will quickly drop it as a hot potato. I don't know that this whole matter of licensing Christian preachers and Muslim preachers, if that has got any traction.
Our own way. After all, these religions are imported into this country. They are not Nigerian-made religion. I'm going to be totally honest with you.
But you're being logical. You're being logical. And you know there's nothing logical about religion.
Anything that is not made in Nigeria for Nigerian cannot work in Nigeria. I will speak a bit of Yoruba now, then I will interpret it in English for our live audience. In other words, culture and values different from places to places. If a masquerade goes out in Osogbo and there is money gift, he collects the money from whoever gives to them and put it in his pocket. Whereas there are pathfinder in some other places that when there is cash gift to the masquerade, they will collect on behalf of the masquerade. This is our home. Let us regulate the practice of Nigeria so that they won't go into all this fundamental and be infringing on the right of others.
Well, the difficulty I imagine is going to be finding what is the Nigerian way to the mutual satisfaction of all of us.
Let me give you an instance.
But I'll come back, sir, because someone's been waiting on the line. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Please go on.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
This is Yakub from Dokwemo.
Good morning, Yakub. Thank you very much for calling in. And thank you for holding on.
Yeah, no problem, sir. I'm very, very happy that I finally got this money as well. You see, Chief Yori, we must tell ourselves the truth. The truth here is that by my name, everyone that is listening to me on TV now will know I'm a Muslim. I want to ask these people call themselves Shiites.
Where is it in Al Quran says that you are a Shia? Because Quran call you a Muslim, nothing more than Muslim. And then you go to this world, you give yourself Shia, you give yourself Sunni, you give yourself all sorts of names. Jerry, I want to tell you this: Nigerian government must not allow them. I can tell you, if 20 or 100 Muslims come to this program this morning, none of them will agree with them. Because when you say Muslim is a religion of peace, if you look at the generation of this problem, when they started, I watched the video in the beginning that they confronted the military in Kaduna. That is the generation of the problem. And then they have been doing this. They have been doing this often and often. And then, are you telling me people are not saying that human rights, human rights? Your right starts from their home beginning. See, Chief Jari, Nigerian government must not allow them to carry out what they are doing, because you cannot confront the Nigerian military. This is our symbol. This is the people that are protecting all, every one of us, ordinary Nigerian citizens. When you are mad, sleep and close with our two eyes. These people, this military are not sleeping. They are in the war front, and then you are turning this kind of a people, and then you are not telling me that they gun them down. See, a Sasaki must not be released, because if they are releasing, you must be able, you will go and Japanize them and begin to perpetrate more people to this country. I thereby disagree with people that say human rights should release Sasaki. This is how the Boko Haram started. Chief Jori, Nigerian government should head on to Al-Basaki. The only thing they should do is that they make sure that he has access to the doctor. They should take care of him. Nothing should happen to him. But releasing Al-Basaki by this time, it is not comfortable for this country. I hereby disagree with anybody for themselves. Either if you are not calling yourself a Muslim, you should not call yourself anything, because Quran call you a Muslim. God Almighty Allah will bless Sheikh Mudiru Markaz, because He allows us to know every certain thing in Al-Quran. Because if you want to the Markaz, He will tell you that Quran call you a Muslim. You are not calling any other thing. Anybody call you Shia, Sunni, and others. They are just calling you any other thing, because you are a Muslim from the beginning. They should not release Asaki by now, and then nothing should happen to him. They should take care of him, and then by releasing Asaki now, Sibiori is going to Japanize them, and then they will perpetrate more evil than this.
All right. Thank you very much for calling in. The whole idea behind holding Zakzaki, no doubt, is when you take a leader away, maybe the fold will flounder, there will be no organizational ability, but that doesn't seem to be the case here.
Well, it's not the case, because you are getting funding from somewhere else. You cannot organize.
Is it about money, organizational ability?
It is about money. You can remember, imagine the United States. That's the wealthiest country in the world. All what they are doing to people, groups like the one in Afghanistan, what do you call them?
ISI.
No, the one in Afghanistan. You know, America was there for years. I've forgotten the name of the...
Maybe the Al-Qaeda?
No, well, part of the Al-Qaeda.
Part of the Al-Qaeda.
What America is doing now is going out of the funding. They are like headed monsters. They've decimated them, they've killed them, they've done everything to them. But still they research, they come up again. So America is going after the funding, and that's why you see a decline in the activities. I think what the Nigerian government should do is maybe obtain external assistance to go after who is funding these people. They cannot just be doing this in isolation. It's not possible for them, even to organize a procession from Nasarawa State to Abuja and working on field. I mean, they have to feed, they have to eat, they have to do all sorts
So there's a high level of organization.
Oh, yes.
So it shows you that this is not a disorganized group.
And whoever tells us that they are a bunch of illiterates, I want to disagree. You know why? Some of them are lawyers. I've seen their lawyers come on TV, I've educated people among them. But the only thing is that they've been brainwashed.
Okay.
It doesn't, your being brainwashed doesn't limit you, or doesn't say because you are this, you are that. Once you are brainwashed, you are brainwashed. That's
it's a matter of faith, and people will just believe whatever is their faith. Miriam in Apapa, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yari.
Good morning, ma'am. Yeah.
There's something I'm looking at each time I look at this video coming out from this child versus the army and the police. I noticed a set of people, the children.
Women and children.
You know, they have a lot of children in the procession. And I'm wondering, what exactly do these children know that they stand for? Do they really deeply, strongly understand what they are marching for? These are people's children. Can people be this religiously stupid? Not just Muslims, even sometimes Christians are also religiously stupid. You see, sometimes I look at religion and I feel that it's doing more harm than good. I don't understand it. These are vulnerable set of people. You put them on the streets. Let's even assume that it's actually meant to be a peaceful protest or a peaceful rally or whatever they choose to call it. But now you get to a point where it is becoming, you know that this is going to result to death. If they are really sensible, would you not just turn back? That is to tell me that people are being brainwashed here and they really do not understand what they are doing. Some time ago, before Shites became very popular, I actually had somebody, a family member, who had an encounter with them. They were having one of their usual processions in Zaria, Kaduna. You know, they've been there. They are very strong. You know, and he said they held them for 2 hours. People were not moving. That was before the encounter with the army chief. The 2 hours, and I was calling, and I said, "You are still not. We are waiting. Where are you?" I said, "We have been held down by a certain group called Shiite, and what have you? They are doing a special procession, and people aren't moving." That is some of the kind of things these people cause. Are you not going to tell me that they were working within their own rights and stopping people from free movement and you know, disturbing people's, you know, these people are distractions. So in the long run, I think government, after now, should begin to look into making people more educated. I think it's lack of education. A lot of people I see there, those children and women, they probably don't even know what they are marching for. Better education, better life, and people will value their lives more.
Indeed.
I think people are not valuing their lives. I won't put out my child out there for any religious belief. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for calling in. And the other thing, of course, Miriam spoke about seeing women and children.
Indoctrination.
And where are these women and children? Not at the back. Not at the back.
Yeah, they want to
in
use them
front,
as guinea pigs,
as shields, as human shields, playing on the, you know,
they are playing on the gallery, playing on the sympathy of the world.
Ethical behavior, imagining that, okay, even if they're going to shoot, they won't shoot because it's women and children. So that kind of a thing. So you're using them as a human shield. And the shield, Miriam spoke about the children. What can they possibly know about, although one has to be careful about that. You also take Christian babies to church. What can they possibly know about it either? But we want to understand it. This is brainwashing.
Real.
Where the women agree to come on and become human shields.
It boils down to the fact that education is enlightenment. Education enlightens you. It opens you up. One fundamental crisis happened when the late Gani Fawemi died in Ondo. When his corpse was taken to Ondo for burial, they were saying that, you know, according to the Muslim injunction, they need to pray over the body. And the Islamic cleric over there refused to pray, that they have defied Islamic injunction that the corpse waited for more than 24 hours. You understand? And look at it, the way the children of Gani Fawemi, being well educated, called Doha, where the religion came from. They called on to Doha, where the religion came from, and they were asking them. They gave the phone to the cleric that, where is it written in the Quran that somebody should be buried within 24 hours after death? That the only Prophet Muhammad, who is the symbol of the Islam, was buried the 4th day after his death. And he mentioned a lot of religious clerics. There's a caller here that called from Agege who said is the Alhaji Shehu Adam like Agege. He was buried 6 weeks after his death. Yasser Arafat. How many weeks after his death? King Hassan of Morocco. Anwar Sadat.
So it's coming, the point you're making is that of enlightenment.
That of enlightenment.
As opposed to just...
But here in Nigeria, the moment a Muslim died, within 24 hours, they buried him. But that is not, it's just a tradition that becomes a practice.
But I think either you or Major said that we have to imbibe our, evolve our own type of whatever this is.
Exactly
instead of importing it from Iran, That was the point I was trying to make to Femi, who called in from Surulere. He said Saudi Arabia.
Yori, I served in the Middle East. I was with the UN in 79, 80. Came in towards the tail end of 79. And that's where these two religions emanated from. There's no do or die affair in either of the two religions. People go about their businesses, and there's nobody is compelled to do what he doesn't want to do. I've seen it. I was in Israel, I was in Saudi Arabia, I was in Mecca, I was everywhere. So this type of interpretation that we give to things here is different. And that's why I suggested at the beginning of this program that, look, sponsoring people to Mecca or Medina, it should be out of the question. Because to Jerusalem, it's out of the question.
It's almost like a cult following. It's almost like a cult following.
By the time you do that,
what they're doing.
You see people on TV, and the type of, especially during the festivals, Christmas, fasting period, you watch TVs, and then when you listen to the preachers, you'll be wondering where these people came from.
Mazi Okorafor, thank you for holding on. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sir Yori. Good morning, our guests in the studio. Honestly speaking, Sir Yori, there is need for Nigerian government to mount CCTV everywhere in Abuja or states. This will help us for intelligent information gathering. You see, I used to tell people that there is need for our own security agents to adhere to using rubber bullets when there is a problem for them to wear anything. Rubber bullet is instead of using live bullets. For security reasons, this black spot or black point, anything we call it, there is need for proper security. Because if you check very well now, if we just normally monitor all these things now, all this issue of people running from health center will not occur. And we need information and to help us. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Abuja.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor from Arochukwu, for keeping it brief because we've completely run out of time. But I think most of us, in taking part in this conversation, seem to think that government needs to grab hold of this and take charge of it. Otherwise, it could get out of hand, and that is, one can only imagine.
Talking of proactive steps?
Yeah.
Oh yes, the government should do that.
Nip it in the bud. Just shut this down.
And just like the last caller said, you see, we should devise other means different from lethal force. Even if those people have overstepped their bounds,
yes,
they shouldn't be gone down like that.
They shouldn't.
Yes.
Absolutely not. So but at the same time, if you overrun the army.
No, I'm not saying you should go and commit suicide now.
If you overrun the army, I don't know. I understand. Well, Major, this is and Festus. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Festus Akitola, security expert and analyst, and Major Debo Bashorun, retired security consultant. Thank you for, we talk about this and then we sort of wait on the authorities and just keep praying and hope that we can somehow get a hold of this whole thinking. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow with we'll have a fresh edition for you. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.